It's Mondo, and he rates. Mondo rates. Mondo rates. Mondo.
For the purpose of this record, a wide range of
Mondo
frequencies.
rates. Mondo rates. Mondo rates. Mondo rates. Hello everyone to Mondo rates.
Hello out there, internet people. It is I, once again, your host Mondo, for another glorious episode of Mondo Rates, episode number 3. Tonight, as I'm sure most of you have guessed by that opening clip, we discuss fighting games. 3 subgenres of fighting games to be specific: unarmed fighting games centered around characters with powers, and fighting games centered around characters using weapons. As our special guest tonight, I would like to introduce one of the ladies of J360, Miss Yari.
Hi everyone.
Hello Yari, and thank you for coming tonight and helping me host this episode of Mondo Rates.
Yay.
As always, it is a pleasure. We're just using some of these games as reference points.
Yeah.
They don't encompass all of it. It's just, they're some of the more notable ones. All on the PS3, mind you, because it's a PS3. So let's get into it with unarmed fighting games first. Now, unarmed fighting games are really fun. They're a basic form of fighting game that pretty much anybody can get into. Because there's your fight nights, your DOAs, there's the MMA fighting games that are out now, wrestling games are out. And it's cool because you're fighting using characters that are using styles, techniques, can actually be performed in real life.
Mostly DOA. Is that the first game we're going to talk about, or?
DOA is just the representation of the category of unarmed fighting games. So we're just discussing how unarmed fighting games flow, our opinions on them, whether we, how we like them or what we find negative to them. Like, what's positive about unarmed fighting games, what's negative. Like, in my opinion, a positive about unarmed fighting games is that a lot of the styles and techniques you see actually come from real martial arts or real fighting style.
Yeah.
The negative to it is all of it is direct melee confrontation, where characters that have a greater speed are going to have a greater advantage, simply because characters that move slower and use styles that fight with bigger, more powerful techniques aren't as fast, so they don't do as many hits. So characters that are faster tend to have an advantage in the amount of hits they can lay down before the heavier character can make a hit.
I do agree. But also, characters who are slower tend to be those that are a bit more powerful with their hits than those that are are more they're quicker. So it's not bad to have a one of the slower characters as one of your favorites either. So.
Oh yeah, everybody has a different favorite character and different favorite style. Like in DOA, I always prefer characters that are faster, simply because they let you get around quicker. And faster characters can dodge a little bit better. So it's harder for a slower, more powerful character to land a hit. In some games, in some unarmed fighting games, a serious con they do is they don't balance out the damage right between faster and slower characters. Some slow characters do massive amounts of damage, but they're incredibly slow, so to actually hit is so freaking hard. But when you do, it's generally because your opponent messed up. So you get in one hit that takes away like a third of their health. Versus the faster characters that can get in, do a 5 or 6 hit combo, take away a third of your health with 5 or 6 hits, and then dodge out of the way before they get hit. And some games don't balance that right, so where the damage for fast characters, even with a 5 or 6 hit combo, you're doing maybe 10 or 12% of their health, versus the one that is super powerful but super slow doing a third or more of damage. And you gotta figure out a way to balance it. Like DOA tends to balance it quite well, where your power characters, they do a lot of damage with one hit, but your faster character with their standard 3 or 4 hit combo will do just as much damage as that one hit. So it's a nice balance. So even if you're playing with a slower or faster character, the damage rate stays about the same.
What do you consider, since DOA has more countering moves, Do you feel as faster characters are easy to counter or slower characters?
Countering's always a little bit weird, and I never quite understood the timing of counters. Like, countering was never my thing. Grappling replaced my counter very quickly, because in most unarmed fighting games, grappling is incredibly easy to do and will most times interrupt a combo if you can do it at the right time. You can even stop a combo from starting if you can grapple at the right time. Like, if you have a fast character and the slow character is coming in for that hit, you can do a quick grapple, a low grapple that hits them from low and takes away their ability to hit.
Right.
It may not do a lot of damage, but it stops them from being able to hit. It restricts their movement. Now, the actual way I've seen combos done is where most of the time it's the faster characters that perform combos much more easily. Like, I've seen players that use fast and use slow characters. Players that use fast characters tend to know how to do counters because that's how they counter the slower characters that do a more powerful hit. However, people that use the slower, more powerful characters tend to use grapples more, simply because it's easier to pull off the grapple for that larger character.
Mm-hmm.
But yet again, it comes to how these games balance it. Like, Christie, if I'm remembering correctly, uses snake-style kung fu, which is very rapid, very quick, very fluid. So it essentially can let you do continuous combos to keep your opponent off guard.
Yeah.
So when you use Christie, as long as your opponent isn't using an equally fast character, you have an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other characters in DOA that are less fast than Christie, just as much fluidity. And the reason I keep bringing up size and speed is because in unarmed fighting games, speed and power are huge parts of it. They are the main part of it. Where you choosing your character is literally you choosing power or speed, or a combination of the two. But I think we've discussed enough of the unarmed fighting game subcategory that I think, personally in my opinion, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being kind of crappy poop, and 10 being really super awesome perfect, unarmed fighting games, in my opinion, they rank about a 7. Fun, they're great games. I would like to hear your rating on it.
Well, for unarmed like DOA, I would rate them an 8. Specifically, because in DOA, it's so much easier to counter than I would in Soul Calibur. And it's, that's like the average game for, someone, a newbie in fighting games. You can learn easily how to do a combo and things like that. And their tutorials are good too. So.
Now, going into the next subcategory, we will be talking about fighting games that let you have characters that have powers. Now, there are a wide variety of different fighting games that let you have powers. And in all of them, it very quickly comes down to people like to spam range shit. That is the major flaw of all powered fighting games. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it has a range that can keep your opponent away from melee, they love it. For example, Super Street Fighter 4, just as an example, because it's Street Fighter. People have been playing this since forever, and they all do the same thing. They all pick Ken and Ryu just to spam Hadouken. It's like, Hadouken, 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 Hadouken. And it's
annoying. It's annoying.
Yeah, because there are so many different techniques that people could use that are harder to learn, but still power bit. Like characters like Akuma, for an example. He has a thing that lets him kind of fade into the back, come out, and hit you. It's hard as hell to learn to do, but it's a worthwhile attack. But I'm sure you have your own experiences with power-based fighting games like Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kitana's fan lift, fan throw, all of those. Come on, yes.
Having powers in a fighting game is so much fun, because if you actually take the time to learn your characters and learn all their different powers and abilities, you can have a very varied moveset that can make the game a lot of fun. So, overall, the power base a little enough that power games are incredibly fun, because you can get in and just fuck shit up with powers. Plus super ultras, finishers, stuff like that. I love the finishers in Mortal Kombat. They are awesome. I give power-based fighting games a solid 8. So what's your take on it in rating?
The two games I had in mind were Super Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat 9. And they're both, in my opinion, they're different. So if it would have just been Super Street Fighter, I would have gave it a 5. But speaking in terms of Mortal Kombat, I'll bump it up to a 7 as well. Yeah.
All right, now it's time to take care and talk about the last subgenre, in my opinion, of fighting games, weapon-based fighting games, which, as you can see by my expression, I truly enjoy. Something about the visceral nature of taking a weapon and using it to savagely beat the crap out of somebody. It's fun. You gotta love weapons. Like, also, like, let's say Soul Calibur, with Song Mina and her polearm.
Mm-hmm.
Or Naginata, depending on what you want to call it. It's called different things. That gave you tremendous range.
That's true.
Just because you can still hit the crap out of your opponent, but they can't get close to you. Like, say they're using a sword or tonfa. Or my most hated of weapons that I've ever seen in a weapon-based fighting game, nunchucks.
Okay.
Because most characters that use nunchucks are broken as hell. Like, the most broken character I can ever think of, Maxi. You hit a button like 2 times, he does like a 10-hit combo. Same button 2 times, 10-hit combo.
What do you think of Keelik then? He's pretty long range.
Yeah, I like Keelik as a long range. I just don't like his specific moveset so much.
Yeah, for me I think it's limited, a little limited.
Yeah, it is kind of limited, though he does have a nice move where he hits all 3 of the height sets. Mm-hmm. He hits low, then he hits middle, then he hits high, which can be quite useful when you're battling smaller opponents that have moves that hit low.
Mm-hmm.
But his skill set seems very similar to Song Mina, except a little bit more limited. He doesn't get all the same techniques that Song Mina does, because even Song Mina has some pretty wicked shit, where she can extend her range more than Keelik is, because her weapon is longer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I love about weapon-based combat games. It's not about your speed. It's not about your strength. It's about your type of weapon. Because the type of weapon you choose basically determines your speed, your damage, your range. All of these things come from your weapon choice. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what kind of character you pick. You're basically picking a character for his or her weapon.
Yeah.
Like, characters that have huge broadswords. They're going to be slow, but they're going to be doing a crap ton of damage. And the thing about a broadsword is, unlike when you're doing things with unarmed combat where the huge, slow characters are at a disadvantage, huge characters that are slow in fighting games that have giant weapons can swing them horizontally. They're swinging a weapon horizontally, vertically, sometimes at an angle, and still do damage. Mm-hmm. Now, is it possible to get around them? Yes, it is. But that takes skill. It takes time to learn your characters, to learn them well, and to learn your skills. Mm-hmm. It is skill intensive, and I find that most times people that play the weapon-based fighting games have the most raw technical skill, simply because they need it. If you don't have skill in it, you're going to get your ass whooped. It's not something that beginners can play easily. It takes beginners time. The only downside to some weapon combat games, one of my favorite characters, Cervantes, has this that most people consider to be kind of a shit thing to do. He has a gun. He can literally hit you from across the map. But on the bright side, it is easily dodged. The gun sword is easily dodged by a sidestep. But the teleports kind of make using Cervantes... If you know how to use Cervantes and use his teleports well, you can charge hit somebody, teleport up, hit him again, teleport back, shoot him, all before they have time to react.
That is some spam right there.
It is spam, but when you play with Cervantes, you play to win. Like, every fighting game has that one character that is super easy and super broken to use that you basically only pull out when somebody's pissing you off enough to make you want to use a broken character.
That's your secret weapon.
Yeah. Every fighting game has that one character that everybody considers their secret weapon. I think I've talked enough about specifically weapon combat fighting games. Is there anything you would like to add?
But like you said before, it does take skill to learn, the weapons. It's really difficult if you don't know the combinations or anything like that. But I do think it's a really good game once you know what you're doing. It could be very fun.
In my opinion, they rank very, very high. They rank a 9.5. Simply because I love the challenge of a skill-based fighting game. Where it's almost, you don't have a lot of characters that you can just spam random shit and it'll let you automatically win. It's skill. And once you have enough of it, it makes the game so much more enjoyable. Alright, now, Miss Yari, what is your opinion? Your ranking?
Agreeing with what you said, I will give them a 9. They are very good skill wise, and I love weapons. I love using weapons in games. So yeah, definitely 9.
Alright, cool. You've heard from both of us. I hope this has gotten you the urge to go out and play some fighting games, which are always a good time. So folks, from me, Mondo, and my special guest Jody here, I would like to say peace out. That's it for tonight.
Bye everyone.
Mondo out.
It's Mondo, and he rates. Mondo rates.
Mondo Rates.